Hi, hope you're well, and gonna have to forgive any background music on the rooftop of the Elliott Hotel. A link just there, I think, whilst I'm still in Gibraltar. Over behind me is the infamous Rock of Gibraltar, also a name of a famous racehorse. That's another story, especially for Alex Ferguson. Oh, sorry, Sir Alex Ferguson. Let's give him his title and his dues. Well, we're on to part 3 of the NRG story, and as we're picking it up from where Scott has let the Sheffield lads down, other things had happened because of the ongoing, shall we say, being played off against each other by Jess. We eventually parted company from her and found a new apartment. Scott, being resourceful just before his departing, had found 2 girls from London to share an apartment with. 2-bedroom apartment, big kitchen, everything that dreams are made for whilst you're living the dream, especially in Faliraki. And it was fortunate that that had happened, because just before Scott departed, he had met the Sheffield lads close to the old apartment, which was by a infamous bar in the Faliraki area, and that's where they were looking for Scott. Obviously, we'd moved out, but by the time I bumped them into them in Rhodes Town, Scott had gone, and then I was able to deal with what the problem was that was left. At first, I tried to play it off and say that Scott wasn't around and he must have been in Faliraki, and he hadn't really said to me what had gone on. I had an inkling, but they were after their money, and quite rightfully so. So I managed to pass it off for what was the second night, being in Rhodes Town, and I just said, well, you must come down to Faliraki then, because you're going to have to find him if he's not turning up when you think he's going to come to the club. So sure enough, they did, and the bite was on me, is it to locate Scott, which obviously I couldn't do anyway because he wasn't there, but that's not what I'm all about. And whilst these guys weren't really bigger than me, through dealing with my dad when I was younger, I'd taken a few hits and beatings, and wasn't necessarily the hardest lad at my old school, but not one of the mugs either. So the implied threats against me was nothing to really worry about, but obviously, like anybody, you don't want to take a kicking from 4 lads. So they came down to Faliraki, and fortunately for me, I was with Strat, sitting outside disco bar set Faliraki. And because his presence there, because he was a larger than life character, they didn't approach, but they were staring, and Stat didn't take kindly to that, and with his big booming voice, "Is there a problem?" Oh yes, there was a problem, but they weren't going to confront him, especially with his doorman, Big George, who was a massive size with big thick curly hair, as some Greek people have. Got good hair, unlike myself. However, it didn't mean the problem went away. Far from it. It just meant I couldn't really go to Rhodes Town. And so I had to be clever, shall we say, in what my next move was. So I bit the bullet, and went and seen the lads just before they was about to leave, and just said, listen, I haven't got the money that you're looking for, but if you need to sort something out with anybody, then there's a bar owner in Faliraki that could cover your losses by whatever you do with him. This seemed to placate them, and for whatever reason they decided to go with that and sorted something else, so they weren't out of pocket. I was happy for the matter to be concluded, and also for not to get a slap, which could have possibly happened. My friend and DJ Dave had caught wind to everything that was going on and had suggested doing something else, but it wasn't really what I was all about, especially back then. So with that, we carried on kamaking just on my own because Scott had gone, only for Scott's sister to turn up with a friend thinking he was still there. That's another story and might not even be covered in this story itself. But a good time was still being had. And that was up until Dave's friends eventually turned up. Now, unbeknownst to me, Dave, in stories that he told, eventually told me that he'd lived in Greece before. Lived in Corfu, had a water ski business, and had trouble when he was there because he'd sold a vehicle and a caravan and not paid the taxes. And the group, like lots of places, are onto the taxes. And we'll come to that part of the story. Anyway, Dave's friends had turned up, and there was 4 of them. Good lads from the London area. We're pleased to see Dave in his happy DJ box between either the NRG or set disco bar Faliraki as he flopped between the two. But one of them apparently had done something to Dave behind his back in London. And that was, I think he'd got off with Dave's girlfriend, or on and off girlfriend, from London whilst Dave was away. And he came to apologise and admit what he'd done, which was very big of him. That was obviously a matter Dave wasn't happy about, but it wasn't as if like Dave was living a life of a monk. We were Kamakis. He was better than that. He was a DJ, so he was like a local celeb. The DJ, not bad looking, with a cheeky smile, as I mentioned before, who was very good with the ladies. So it would have been a bit hypocritical for Dave to lambast his on-off partner from London while he was enjoying himself, shall we say, in Faliraki and Roadstown and wherever else he could go. But that led to getting close to, the lads had only been there a couple of days, and we had then a workers' night down at a beach bar in Faliraki. And this night we were getting cheaper drinks and obviously getting drunk, as we did most nights. However, there was a turn of events that night that the guy that had slept with Dave's on-off girlfriend in London got very drunk and passed out. Now, because he passed out, and Dave and the rest of us had to go and do a little bit in set disco bar Faliraki because we weren't in NRG that night, left him on the beach. Or so I thought. We went to the club, had the night where I was doing the lighting, flashing away thinking I was something special. I was completely drunk, and so it probably wasn't that special at all, but at the time I thought so. I was looking to meet a couple of girls that I knew. I disappeared, only for things to unfold in the morning that I wasn't aware about. And as ever, this is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm going to end it there and take it to the next part. Take care.